I said yes, and that's how the biggest preparation of my life began. I had been contemplating proposing to Lisa for 3 whole years. We first met at my buddy Jake's birthday party. The moment I laid eyes on that petite blonde in a charming summer dress, I was completely smitten. That night, we all had way too much to drink, so much that Lisa and I woke up in the same bed the next morning. "This has never happened to me before, just so you know," she murmured when we both opened our eyes. I wrapped my arm around her and shrugged. "Don't worry about it." I reassured her. Had I known that little red flag was something I shouldn't overlook, I might have walked away right then, but more on that later. From that day forward, Lisa and I spent every single evening together. Some nights, I stayed over at her place. Other times, she crashed at mine. A year later, I graduated from college and secured a job at an oil company, where I quickly started climbing the corporate ladder. Before long, I was able to buy a beautiful apartment in a newly built complex and asked Lisa to move in with me. Life was good. She took care of our home while I worked tirelessly. Over time, I got promoted to a small management position, and the long hours started adding up. Lisa despised how much time I spent away, but I tried to make up for it with thoughtful gifts and surprises. Once I got really sick. Lisa nursed me back to health, doted on me, and worried nonstop. That was the moment it hit me. I want to grow old with her and have a bunch of kids. So, about a month after I recovered, we visited her parents. Could I have everyone's attention for just a moment? I asked. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, turned toward me expectantly, as did Lisa. We had always gotten along well. They liked me and were pleased their daughter had found someone they approved of. "Lisa, I want you to be my wife," I announced, practically trembling with nerves. She said yes, and I slipped a ring with a modest diamond onto her finger. We set our wedding date for the anniversary of the day we met, just 2 months away. That's when things kicked into high gear. Invitations, suits, dresses, catering, wedding planners, the whole shebang. I only wanted a small gathering, but Lisa and her parents insisted on a grand celebration, saying it was a once-in-a-lifetime event. About a month before the wedding, I noticed Lisa becoming distant and secretive. She was always occupied, at an appointment, a fitting, or running errands. I assumed she was just anxious about the big day and wanted everything to be flawless, so I brushed it off. Big mistake. One afternoon while I was at work, I decided to call her. "Hey, babe, where are you? Where else would I be?" "I'm at home," she snapped. I thought, all right, I'll surprise her. So I left the office early, picked up a massive bouquet of flowers, and bought a nice bottle of champagne to help us unwind from all the wedding stress. When I arrived at our apartment door, I held the flowers up to the peephole and rang the bell. Silence. No one answered. Using my keys, I let myself in and immediately noticed she hadn't been home all day. "Lisa, are you here?" I called again. She picked up the phone. "Nick, you already asked me that. Why are you checking up on me?" She huffed. I hung up without saying another word. Why would she lie about being home? Where is she? My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of keys in the door. Lisa walked in, carrying several heavy grocery bags. "Where were you?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked startled to see me home so early. I was out getting a surprise ready," she mumbled, noticing the weight of her bags. I reached out to help. "I got it," she snapped, pulling them away. "What's going on?" I pressed, my voice sharper this time. I managed to grab one of the bags and peeked inside. It was stuffed with takeout containers from a restaurant. I gave her a puzzled look. "What's all this food for?" I said yes, and just like that, the most significant preparation of my life commenced. For 3 whole years, I had been contemplating proposing to Lisa. We first crossed paths at my buddy Jake's birthday bash. The instant I spotted that petite blonde in a charming summer dress, I was utterly captivated. That night, we all indulged in far too many drinks. So much so that Lisa and I woke up in the same bed the next morning. "This has never happened to me before, just so you know," she murmured as we both opened our eyes. I wrapped an arm around her and shrugged. "Don't worry about it," I assured her. If only I had recognized that tiny red flag for what it truly was, I might have walked away right then and there. But more on that later. From that day forward, Lisa and I were inseparable. Every evening we spent together, some nights at her place, other times at mine. A year later, I graduated from college and secured a job at an oil company, quickly climbing the corporate ranks. Before long, I was able to purchase a beautiful apartment in a newly developed complex and invited Lisa to move in with me. Life was good. She managed our home while I buried myself in work. As time went on, I earned a promotion to a junior management position, and the extended hours started stacking up. Lisa despised how much time my job consumed, but I tried to make up for it with thoughtful gifts and surprises. Once, when I fell seriously ill, Lisa tended to me with unwavering care, fussing over my every need. That was the moment everything clicked. I wanted to spend forever with her, to build a family together. About a month after my recovery, we visited her parents. Could I have everyone's attention for just a second? I announced. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, turned to me with anticipation, as did Lisa. We had always gotten along well. They liked me and were pleased that their daughter had found someone they approved of. "Lisa, I want you to be my wife," I declared, my voice trembling with nerves. She said yes, and I slid a delicate diamond ring onto her finger. We set our wedding date for the anniversary of the day we first met, just 2 months away. That's when the chaos kicked in. Invitations, suits, gowns, catering, wedding planners, the full extravaganza. I had envisioned a small, intimate ceremony, but Lisa and her parents were adamant about making it a grand affair since, as they put it, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Roughly a month before the wedding, I started noticing Lisa acting distant and secretive. She was always preoccupied, constantly running off to some procedure or dress fitting. I assumed it was just pre-wedding jitters and her desire for everything to be flawless. So I brushed it off. Big mistake. One afternoon at work, I decided to check in on her. "Hey, babe, where are you?" I asked. "Where else would I be?" "I'm at home," she snapped. That was odd. I decided to surprise her. I left the office early, picked up an enormous bouquet of flowers, and grabbed a nice bottle of champagne to help us unwind from the stress of wedding planning. When I arrived at our apartment, I held the flowers up to the peephole and rang the doorbell. Silence. No one answered. I used my keys to let myself in, and it was evident that she hadn't been home all day. "Lisa, you here?" I called out, dialing her number. "Nick, you already asked me that. Why are you checking up on me?" She snapped again. I hung up without saying another word. Why would she lie about being home? Where was she? My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of keys and lock. Lisa walked in, struggling with several heavy grocery bags. "Where were you?" I asked, keeping my tone as calm as possible. She seemed startled to see me home so early. I was out getting a surprise ready," she mumbled, noticing the weight of the bags. I reached out to help her. "I got it," she snapped, yanking them away. Something was off. I managed to grab one of the bags. It was filled with takeout containers from a restaurant. I looked at her, baffled. "What's all this food?" "I didn't have time to cook today, okay? I had a dress fitting and lost track of time." "Then why lie about it?" "Because it's just a girl thing, Nick. I didn't want to bother you at work. I just want to look amazing on our wedding day so you'll be proud of me." She stepped closer, stood on her tiptoes, and reached up for a kiss. Like clockwork, we ended up making up in the bedroom. This was her signature move. Whenever something fell off, she used intimacy to distract me, and I have to admit, she was damn good at it. Later that night, we had dinner and popped the champagne, but my mind was still riddled with unanswered questions. Finally, the big day arrived. I pulled up to the bridal suite where she was getting ready, and the sight of her took my breath away. She looked radiant in a white gown adorned with delicate crystals and floral embroidery. The deep neckline accentuated an exquisite necklace, and a small, glittering tiara sat atop her head. My heart swelled with joy. That's my wife, my stunning bride, I thought. In the limo on our way to the ceremony, I leaned in and whispered, "I can't wait to take all this off you." She merely smiled shyly and took a sip of champagne. Little did I know I would never get that chance. The ceremony at City Hall went by in a blur, followed by a whirlwind photo shoot across the city. By the time we arrived at the grand two-story house we had rented for the reception, the guests were already in full swing. Bread and salt for newlyweds, the MC announced with a wide grin. Lisa and I each took a ceremonial bite before taking our seats. The night was filled with toasts, games, and endless chants of kiss. Kiss. Lisa, however, drank way too much. By midnight, she was barely able to stand. I was still hanging in there, though I was irritated that my new wife had gotten so wasted. A little while later, I stepped away for a moment, and that's when I heard the MC yell, "The bride has been kidnapped!" A typical wedding prank, I thought. Usually, the best man would negotiate her ransom with goofy dares or a round of shots. But something felt off. Lisa had vanished without a trace. I suspected she had probably passed out somewhere upstairs. I decided to find her myself. Creeping up the staircase, I was met with eerie silence. Weird, I thought. I turned to head back down, only to find Lisa already back at the table, laughing along with everyone else. "What's so funny?" I asked, more annoyed than I meant to sound. The MC explained that Jake had found Lisa and brought her back. I brushed it off. Not long after, Lisa clutched her head. "I have a splitting headache. I need to lie down," she groaned. I started to help her, but her cousin Ryan intervened. "Let me take her, man. Guests will freak out if both of you disappear." I hesitated, but agreed. Minutes later, my childhood friend Mary slipped into the seat beside me. "I can't believe you actually married her," she murmured, almost regretfully. "Why wouldn't I?" I asked, puzzled. "Because Lisa was with Jake when you two hooked up. Then that same night, she switched to you." My ears started ringing. Jake and Lisa had never told me they were actually dating when we met. Enraged, I bolted upstairs, flung open the bedroom door, and walked straight into my worst nightmare.